Hi. I'm annoyed at this point. I've done 2 takes. My phone's died twice of this video. It was lovely both times. It was a lovely little video about the nature of impermanence and death, with a goal of exploration and sort of getting my thoughts together, right? With an acknowledgement that they are not really original thoughts, but and rather like that I'm sort of just trying to figure out what my opinions are in terms of how they've formed from the perspectives of other people and other content that I've consumed. I don't even want to go through it. I suppose in a way it's a bit fitting because one thing I'm trying to do more is embrace impermanence, embrace transience, embrace imperfection, right? This take is imperfect because it's not the mood I was trying to go for. In the previous takes, the mood was sort of a calm, pensive kind of thing of getting my thoughts together. Now I'm annoyed. What's the charge? What's the charge on my phone? Okay, 6%. It is going up, and I am recording. I'm recording. Right. I'm trying not to hide my annoyance. Right. That was an option I thought about. I'll hide my annoyance and push through, but that sort of goes against the spirit of this sort of thing. Especially since part of what I was talking about was sort of how uncomfortable we tend to be with quote-unquote negative emotions, right? Then I might call them uncomfortable emotions, right? Not negative emotions. If they are not inherently negative, it's okay to be sad. Not only is it okay, it's often great to be sad. I actually quite like it a lot of the time, especially if it's with someone. That's amazing. Being able to cry with someone. Crying on someone's shoulder. Cathartic as fuck. Really good experience. Highly recommend. Do it all the time. Not all the time. But yeah. Often. It's very nice. As life ebbs and flows and shit happens. Shit happens that's sad. Shit happens that sucks. To really experience the peaks of life, right? You need to get attached to things, and when you get attached to things, that's a very vulnerable state to be, because then what happens when they end? You get hurt. You get sad. It's okay. It's all part of life. And we shouldn't shy away from that, I think. Right? I'm not saying anything new here. That's okay. I think we should normalize a lack of originality a little more, especially in America. That might be a weird thing to say or to hear, but like AI slop sucks. Yeah, and that's unoriginal, right? But that's got no soul. That's the problem with it. Problem with it isn't the lack of originality, right? No idea is original. not totally. You can have sort of an original framing. It's okay. It's all okay. We have so many ideas that contribute to anxiety that aren't necessary. Part of it's the discomfort with uncomfortable emotions. When we get anxious, it makes us feel anxious. There's the concept of primary versus secondary emotions. Primary emotions is like feeling an emotion about a thing or about an event, about something that happened externally. And then the secondary emotion is an emotion that you're feeling about an emotion, right? A lot of shame is a common secondary emotion because you're not supposed to feel certain emotions in certain contexts a lot of the time in our culture. And there's a very gendered aspect to that. Men are not supposed to feel sad in a lot of contexts, and women are not supposed to feel angry in a lot of contexts, and then that results in a bunch of emotionally repressed men and a bunch of women who are strongly discouraged from self-advocating and from setting boundaries. Yeah. So that's not ideal. The patriarchy needs to come down, for sure. Although that is a bit of a black and white statement. It'd be great. It'd be wonderful if we could just snap our fingers and live in a society completely free of systemic oppression, free of patriarchy. We can establish little microcosms, right? Small communities where, as much as possible, we try and make that true. And that does happen. Those exist, right? They're not perfect. Sex Positive Portland is an example. Like, really quite like that. It's highly prioritized to that we keep each other accountable. That's lovely. That's great. And the, calling each other in. That's what they call it. Calling each other in instead of being called out for, when someone does a microaggression, right? Which it's very comforting to me that happens. As a member of so many privileged groups myself, right? As a straight person, a male person, a white person, right? There's a sort of deep anxiety that comes with that, right? Of messing up, of hurting people. I don't want to hurt people, right? But we do in small ways. We do microaggressions. I try not to. I try and do what I can, but we mess up. It's okay. It's really important to acknowledge that we mess up and that it's okay. Sex Positive Portland had a whole class on intersectionality, and which is very well structured and very helpful. And I really liked that. They actually did take care to validate the experience not only of people on the oppressed side of of the equation, but also the people on the privileged side of the equation. Right. That's not to say that I'm not trying to step foot into the realm of people complaining about the straight experience too much, or the male experience, or the white experience too much, right? Or to act like it's harder being in the oppressed groups. No, it's not. Of course it's not actually taught to any of these people, good lord. And it's clearly not, right? But still acknowledge that these systems hurt everyone. It's okay to acknowledge that, right? It's okay to acknowledge the feelings that come up as a member of privileged groups, right? Feelings of guilt, feelings of anxiety, right? I saw some material talking about the kind of inherent insecurity that comes with being a man, which I thought was interesting. And what I mean by that is we're very we're sort of being soaked in misogyny from the start, right? You better not act like a woman, right? You better not act like a girl. Don't cry like a girl, right? Don't if you liked Barbies or wore a dress or something, which I didn't, but if you did, then oh my god, that's so embarrassing as a kid. That yeah, anything to do with girls, anything to do with women, we're kind of taught to hate from a young age. And that hatred is a expression of insecurity, or a defense mechanism due to insecurity, right? The insecurity of losing our status, losing our privileged status, right? Being seen as weak because there's an association of weakness, right, with with women. To be clear, of course, I'm not saying that they are weak. They are not weak. But that is the misogynist idea, right? Is that man strong, woman weak, right? Our brains take shortcuts. Subconsciously, those ideas are there to some extent in all of us. It's okay to acknowledge that. And then we engage in this kind of double think. Right? Everyone wants to think of themselves as a good person, right? They do. It's lovely to think of myself as a good person, It's a very nice identity to hold for myself. Yeah. But then that leads to black and white thinking, right? Then if you do a microaggression, then you're a bad person. That's not a helpful idea. That leads to defensiveness, that leads to shame, that leads to the fragility response, right? You want to avoid that as much as possible. sort of relates to just generally the effects of shame, right? Shame at its core is what's the word? I want to say a subduing emotion. I'm not sure if that's what the word I'm looking for. An inhibitory emotion, right? Its function is to inhibit a response that would get us shunned from larger society, right? Shame then relates to morality, right? Society shuns bad people. I don't believe in bad people, but societally there's a strong belief, largely, right? Our our judicial system is like built on the idea that there are good people and bad people. It's fundamentally retributive, unfortunately. I think there's a problem in psychology in terms of not acknowledging larger societal bullshit, right? That is contributing to mental health problems in people, and that is contributing to cognitive distortions. There's an issue, I think, within the field of CBT, where a lot of times it's sort of failed to recognize cognitive distortions as a systemic problem, right? A problem with the ideas perpetuated in our culture, right? Treated more as an individual problem, right? The explanation that I've seen given for cognitive distortions in a lot of places has been like, oh, cognitive distortion is like our mind takes shortcuts, right? Our minds, we're pattern recognizing machines and also energy saving machines, and so like we got to take shortcuts, and then we get things wrong, and then we do something like catastrophizing, and that's like a shortcut in our brain in order to understand the world and stuff like that. Like, but it's like, no, well, yes, that's true, but a lot of the time, cognitive distortion is like, no, we've been taught things from society that are wrong, right? That don't make sense if you look closely enough. And that, like, I think it would be more fruitful to focus that energy at challenging those larger societal ideas that can be harmful. Right? This can be an individual practice, and this can have individual benefits, right? Certainly has for me. Certainly has for me. My God. Yeah. Thank you, Portland. Yeah. I don't know. I was just thinking about, like, I just said my location. Is that right? Portland's big enough. Should be okay. It is nice, the rustling of the leaves here. It's so nice that, like, I've moved my desk closer to the window. Very nice to be able to feel the wind, too. Even when I'm in here, sort of be reminded of the world out there, and that it is quite nice. I think we have to remember that, especially in 2025. We have to remember that things are nice in the world, right? If we forget that, we get depressed. We start to have a negative perception of the world largely, and that's not helpful for anyone. We need empowerment, not disempowerment. The news that we're exposed to, right, is very discouraging, disempowering, right? I think there needs to be greater emphasis on all the work that people are doing to halt the goals of the current administration, you know? Just saying. I don't want to get too political right now. Not for the first video I'm putting out there. But, yeah. I'm fucking tired. It's 11:30. What am I doing right now? I need to go to sleep. I'm sure I said enough for today. Right? I'll probably get more of my thoughts out another day. What did I even talk about? God knows. I hope it was good. Yeah. Yeah. Hope you liked it. I'm gonna have a good night, hopefully. And I hope you do too, if it's nighttime. Whoever you are, and if you're watching this, if there is anyone watching. Anyway, bye.